Brittany, we're back Wednesday night. It is Smack Talk. And as you know, every single week, you can count on one thing, at least in life, is that Slap News will bring you a live show every single week to talk about the entire world of Power Slap. How have you been since we last talked?
I've been good. Can't believe it's already been a week. We were a week into 2025, and yeah, I've been great. So I'm excited to be here tonight. I was a little bit sick last episode, so feeling good and very excited for tonight's guest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get 1 week closer to Power Slap 11 in Saudi Arabia. We start hearing more rumblings, more rumors. We're getting fight announcements coming out. On Slap News, we've got some pre-fight interviews, both for Ron Wolverine Beta up and Vern Cathy right now in that light heavyweight division. The title is on the line. So incredibly, excited. And there's a ton of more interviews to come as these fights get released. We're going to keep bringing you guys those pre-fight interviews all the way through. We've always had the crazy Hawaiian dumpling. We just spoke about Wolverine and Vern. This week, we also got a couple bangers, and one with Sheena Bathory and Jackie Cataline in the women's division. This is the rematch that I think everybody was wanting. We ran a poll on our Slap News Instagram, and this was definitely one of those at the top. Brittany, how excited are you to see these two athletes go at it again?
Yes, go girls. Okay, so I am friends with both those girls. Sheena was my first friend here when I moved to Las Vegas. Met her at the gym. Was just drawn to her because of her energy, her physique, the way she could move weight, and then I found out her background. So she's a good friend of mine. And Jackie, I met Jackie at Power Slap 10. Awesome girl, awesome energy. She is just, she's a ball of fire. And this fight, so happy to hear, Corey, that you said in the polls that I would love to see the breakdown of that. It just goes to show, women are to be taking seriously. They're going to be taking some hits in this. So I can't wait to see that. And I feel like it's the time. It's January 8th. We can start the countdown now. You know how the world I'm from, we usually say like X number of weeks out. But I think for Power Slap, we can start counting the days. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fighters are going to be flying out, probably in about 10 or so days. And they're going to get there, get acclimatized to everything in Saudi Arabia. And then it's going to be showtime, and it comes really quick that entire week. So, I mean, this matchup between Sheena Bathory and, Jackie Cataline, obviously the first match, the way that it ended with disqualification by Jackie, Sheena's taken a prolonged period of time off now to recover from that knockout. She recently competed in MMA over in Europe, won it in quite a decisive fashion. And now she's coming back to Power Slap. The biggest stage of volume. We didn't know if we were going to have women. I mean, because obviously being, in the Muslim state of Saudi Arabia, not necessarily sure where all the, women's rights and how they portray women in public places and everything else. But now we've got clarity that obviously that wasn't an issue and that they're willing to move forward with really the biggest female match yet to date in Power Slap. And I think it just really goes to show, with how progressive the world is getting and really how the acceptance of obviously women and women's sports, in athletics. And I mean, you being in the United States, I'm sure you see front and center, Caitlin Clark taking over the WNBA, like wildfire, and some of the big stars, even like Liv Dunn, the gymnast, making waves and becoming household names. So it's really interesting to see women in sport really kind of progress and move forward. And, did you see it coming, Brittany?
It's cool because outside of this, I work with a company called Parity, and they specifically fight for professional women in sports rights for any sport. And they typically favor a lot of underdogs. And one of their campaigns that I was involved with last year with Microsoft was to get C-level people more involved with women's sports. And that was their prediction because I was looking at the stats. I can't remember them offhand, but they had a bunch of stats from professional women talking about how much money they made and how much they would want to see from sponsors to feel comfortable. And just the wage gap between men and women is huge. So I kind of had a feeling this was going, even in my sport, strongman, this is the first time women 2025 at the Arnold's are going to be paid out more than $500. So the fact that we're representing other countries, different sports, getting more money, getting large companies like Microsoft involved, this is huge. So I feel that, women especially should jump on this opportunity and know, if you're listening and you're a woman, every single one of you has a responsibility to make sure that you are, reposting anything you can do, any sort of support. It gets the word out. You never know who's watching. So thank you. And I'm saying that for all women.
Absolutely. But let's get into our first guest. So we have got Ohio native John Davis joining us. We haven't really talked to John too much since his last appearance against Isaih Quinones, where he lost his belt in Abu Dhabi. We're going to catch up with him, and see where he's at, see how his training is going, and really how life has been to adjust it. Because, he was the original title holder, in the middleweight division, and he held the belt longer than anybody, all the way back to Power Slap #1. John, how you doing, John?
Doing pretty well. Appreciate y'all having me on tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time out to come. And how's life been readjusting, since Power Slap in Abu Dhabi?
Pretty good at the moment. Definitely had to relax and take my time. And as most people who know me know that taking a break and stepping away from pushing myself as hard as I normally do, as necessary as it was, been a royal pain in my ass. So I finally been getting back after it lately, and really feeling that thing within that wants me to get back out there and compete.
Absolutely. Right after we seen you back at the hotel, and in a lot of ways, I believe you said to me, like, there was a sense of relief, I guess, or like the pressure was kind of off, in that moment. Has that kind of changed a bit? Have you, like, do you still feel relieved, or have you kind of got that dog back in you and ready to go up there and perform again?
I feel more so like I did in the very beginning of this right now, where I know what I did, and I've already done stuff that I've seen people's careers come and go already in this, and I've had, half my career's been title fights. So if people, take the accolades that I've built up already and kind of use them as goals to get to, that's going to be a thing for a while. So, after kind of dealing with that, I feel like I can have fun again. The specific pressure of being the champion and carrying, that weight of the middleweight division on my shoulders for so long, it definitely took a toll. On top of that year-long layoff, man, no one wants to have a year-long layoff. Mm-hmm. When you're in an up-and-coming sport like this that is getting millions and millions of views, every single clip, every single fight, sitting out for a year was not good for me in a multitude of ways.
Absolutely. Like I said, as I said off the top in your introduction, you're the longest reigning title holder from Power Slap #1. So obviously, as you said, you've been around, a lot of championship fights, top level fights. Do you think you would be in line for a title shot again? Or do you think you need one or two, more kind of redemption fights to earn that honor?
Me personally, I believe no matter who has the title at that point in time, once I'm good to go and get an offer, I don't see why it shouldn't be a title fight. But also, this is business, man. If they need me to fight one other person and then have the title fight on the next one, then so be it. That is what it is. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And at this point, man, I could care less who it's going to be, when it's going to be. I want to know when, but also I know the second I know when, I'm going to lose my ever loving shit and be lost in the cycle of, getting prepared for it.
Of course. Brittany, you got anything for the former champ?
Yes. So after, basically sitting out for a whole year, you work full time, 4 kids. How have you been, you seem pretty confident. How have you been making sure that your skills are still up to par? Have you still been practicing? What have you been doing? I see you're in your gym right now.
Yeah, I even said when I first got home that I wasn't going to do anything, obviously strenuous. I needed to take a break anyhow. But it wasn't even like the second day back at work and I'm just throwing airstrikes, the same as everyone shadow boxes. I just all day long. And my buddy looks at me and he goes, "Look at you. you're fucking doing it already. Because I had no clue. It's just out of habit. So, you know, I've been practicing the motion for sure. I just finally this week have really been, you know, putting the pressure on to, you know, make sure everything still feels good when it comes to landing a hefty strike. And at this point, I don't really see any issues. It's just, you know, back on the grindstone, get back into, you know, peak shape like I like to be. So that way, whenever they do call, I'm ready. There's not a big weight cut. And, you know, I feel prepared before the phone even rings.
Awesome. What will that weight cut be this time around? Any heavier than last match?
You know, I usually walk in within a pound. Their food over there actually made it to where I was eating more than I ever have been before weigh-ins because it wasn't sticking on me at all. So that was great. But it's more so just knowing, even if I have a month, I'm within 15 pounds all the time. I'm under that right now. So,
okay.
You know, I don't stray too far. If I start creeping up to 200, I'm usually like, all right, it's time to reel it in and figure a few things out. Cause I'm not going back up to heavyweight unless of course they're letting us, I don't know, juice or something.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that you're within weight, looking forward to everything. Now, you know, you obviously have a champion mindset. You won, but then were defeated and took a year off. What are you doing to mentally, you know, physically, I know you're ready, but mentally, is there anything you're doing to, I know in social media, people can be kind of loud. What are you doing to make sure you stay focused and, you know, mentally strong athlete?
You know, it's more so been me letting myself know that I know who I am and I know what I've done in this and I know what I'm capable to come back and do again. So, you know, I could give a shit less who has anything to say about me, whether they love me, like me, or hope I fall off a cliff. You know, it is what it is. And it's just, it's usually my biggest battle is me. So that's the thing, is keeping myself on track and, you know, not listening to the other voices in my head sometimes that, you know, want to come out to play.
Yeah, we can all relate to that. And then last question, since you're practicing, you said your youngest is a year and a half. How old is your oldest?
11.
Okay. Are they slapping you?
12 this month.
Okay, so that's a big age range. So 4 of them. I imagine your house is loud. Are they taking after you yet? Are they practicing?
Oh yeah. And I feel terrible because my youngest, since he was in, you know, he was listening to the world around him while it was slap fest. I was training all the time. Everyone's talking about it. We're watching it all the time. He'll just go to town on you. My buddy had a wedding not too long ago, and he whacked him upside his head on his wedding day. You know, I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. He's a baby, and it's in his blood apparently. But you know, they have fun with it, and I think like most people who get really, you know, really deep into something like this, at a certain point, their kids are kind of like, you know, it is what it is. You know, one day when they're older, they might be a little more interested again about some details of stories, but. At the moment, it's just kind of having fun. It's more so, how many games of Mario Kart are we going to play tonight?
Here, love it. It's awesome.
Awesome, John. What do you think about the state of the middleweight division right now? From what you see?
Man, you know, for a long time, I carried the weight of the middleweight division on my back, and I finally get a break from holding that weight, and then. It kind of goes back to almost where we were at, where it's very unsure of things. There's a lot of chatter from my understanding, and as much as I think it's crazy, but also I think it's good for the middleweight division. So that way, everybody else who is coming in new, if they deserve a chance, they're probably finally going to get it, because it's a toss-up at this point in time with, you know, I would say how things went in the last match.
Gotcha. Obviously, you've seen, you know, Isaiah and Brandon. What did you think of that match? And were you actually surprised that Isaiah, you know, ran it back, you know, in 4 weeks turnaround?
I'm not surprised, because I know if, you know, had it been the opposite way and they called me, I would have done the exact same thing. You know, the fight itself, it's like many others that we've seen, where unfortunately no matter what, at the end of the day, the call was made, and you have to deal with what's at hand. And then, if they're going to have that rematch, so be it. I can see that, and I can understand why.
Absolutely. Ding, welcome to the show. You're repping Mr. John Davis across your glasses. Do you have any questions for the champ?
You know how it goes. John, how are you, man? Good to see you. Good to hear from you. I want to start off with some news that came out just a few weeks ago. Your former two-time, the guy who stood opposite of you when you were champion, Isaih Rodriguez, going down to a welterweight. What do you've spent quite a bit of time on stage with Isaih. Obviously, you guys are both from season one. What do you think about his chances at welterweight? What do you think? Where do you think Isaih goes? Because some people would say if a guy named John Davis didn't exist, Isaih Rodriguez would be champion. Back then.
Yes, I know, and I agree with that statement because I've even said that to myself, if I'm not mistaken. But I think him moving down, because originally when he first came in, he was an alternate for 170 or 185. So I think over time, him staying at 185 and being a contender for so long, he really built up to that size-wise. So maybe going down to 170, he'll be a lot leaner with just as much strength. And, Manny was champion at 170. Isaih beat him at middleweight. So I feel like he's an instant contender down there at the least.
Yeah, and then I want to ask you about some stuff that went down in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, we haven't talked to you in a little while. There was some stuff on social media between you and the Chief. It seemed like he kind of zeroed in on you and was really – it looked like he kind of got you a little annoyed. I don't want to speak for you, but you talk to us a little bit about, one, what happened there, two, what's your relationship with the Chief today?
He walked into the gym on Instagram Live after Isaiah and I, of course, were, bullshitting, having a regular night in the gym. I'm not mad at him. I don't hate the guy or whatever. We're, possible future competitors. It's just the name of the game. Shit happens. I was already in an agitated mood, to say the least, by the time I had got over there. So, it's not like it would have taken much for me to really say something to somebody.
Yeah, and then obviously everything kind of points to Brandon and Isaiah having unfinished business. But, from your experience standing across from him, of course, you being the champion for a very long time, do you think there's somebody out there, whether it be Brandon or somebody else, that can take Isaiah out at middleweight? Or do you think he's kind of just on this incredible run and just isn't going to be stopped?
No, especially after that last match, which I will give him the credit. It was a super quick turnaround. He even said that he didn't think that he was quite fully healed. So, if that's how it felt, I don't blame it at all for having gone down and having to fight through that. But yeah, I think even when he is fully healthy, he is beatable. I think any of us in this game are beatable. I can say this much: me up there against, I fucked up in that third round. I haven't watched it back a million times, like a lot of people probably think that I would, but I've watched it back enough to know as I was up there in the third round, I made several mistakes lining up in the heat of the moment, and that's what I'm going to say cost me, surviving that third round and, not getting knocked the fuck out.
Awesome, man. Well, as always, a pleasure. Really glad to have you back on. Great to hear that you're in good spirits, that you kind of have reinvigorated that fire. Very looking forward to seeing you back up there, no matter who it is. Obviously, a lot of changes happening in your division, guys coming up, guys transitioning out. But great to talk to you, man. You always have a home here at Slap News. And we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate y'all very much.
Take care, brother.
Take care, John. All right, Ding. Welcome.
I'm late for work, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. It's not like you're working 2 or 3 jobs to make this happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, dude, we talked about it off the bat. Big fight news. Obviously, Sheena Bathory, Jackie Cataline, the fight that the fans wanted, the fight that we wanted, is now happening. How big is it for Saudi Arabia to have this match in a Muslim state and really push this? Like, could this be one of the top 2 or 3 biggest fights in power slap of all time?
I mean, I think it has the potential to absolutely be. I think this will take the cake when it comes to women's, competition. Again, for you to put some people on that list that are tried and tested, they've had quite a few matches in power slap, and for Sheena and Jackie to win, a little edge. I mean, I don't want to minimize the desire to see Isaih versus Anthony Blackburn, but even DeBell versus Dorian Perez, was far behind Sheena versus Jackie too. That being at the top of the list kind of says it all in itself, especially being that the first match ended the way that it did. There's been all of this kind of tension, I'll say, right? Not really sure how they feel about one another. When those pre-fight interviews come out, I guess we'll find out. Hint, hint, Corey. Where they stand on each other, what their relationships are. But I think what's important, like you alluded to, this is a very, 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 very faith-based place in the world, and historically, I've been a part and parcel WWE fan for years, and I remember when they first went to Saudi Arabia, and the women had to change their gear to wear undershirts all the way to their wrists. Their legs had to be fully covered. They had to have their hair tied up. And it was just very different from WWE. Normally, those costumes are very grandiose. They kind of complement the character if it's a heel or a face. And so to see that, I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. And then there was the whole women's evolution that happened there. So to see, I was definitely intrigued and curious what would happen when we go to Saudi Arabia. Would there be women? If there are women, what do they look like? Well, we have answers to one of those questions. I'm curious if they will modify the fight kit at all. As one of the options for the fight kit is, kind of a sports bra and some biker shorts. You also have the option of tights, right? Things that accentuate. Of course, that's not in keeping with the Muslim faith. So I'll be interested to see kind of what that part of it looks like. But I do believe this is monumental, not only for this sport, not only for those two ladies, but also for women in the world, in that nation, in that area of the world. I couldn't be more excited. This is by far one of the best things they could have done.
Absolutely. The other fight, we have Kalani going up against Danny Van Heerden in the super heavyweight division. Another match that has big implications in the super heavyweights. This one here, 2 guys that I'm certainly looking forward to seeing get up there. Obviously, Kalani coming back victorious. I mean, Danny was victorious as well over Evian Scott by disqualification. This one here has big implications in that super heavyweight division for a potential, title shot in the future. But however, I do believe that whoever comes out victorious in this one needs to make a definitive statement. I don't think we can have a disqualification victory, or I don't think we can have a draw in this one by judge's decision. I think one of these 2 athletes, I think it's big for both of them in their career that there has to be a decisive, impressive highlight reel knockout to really cement themselves in this division and propel them to that upper level. Would you agree?
1,000,000%. I think the biggest thing here is Danny Van Heerden was on the show. He was red hot on the show. He comes off of the show, has a weird kind of disqualification loss against McKinney, gets the title shot, goes 5 rounds with a Hawaiian, seems to be a little bit outmatched in that match. We see Danny in a way we've never seen him before. Hawaiian looked like he was just, flowing. He looked like he was walking on water. Danny really has, and then he comes back in Abu Dhabi, again, doesn't have that highlight reel, the definitive finish, anything like that. So I just think Danny's never had that moment when it comes to the big stage. Of course, again, on the show, he had the moment over Cody Vallo. He had the moment over Big John Boone. Those are all great. But when it came to the big stage, he just hasn't had that moment yet. Many of the mainstream fans, I'll call them, don't watch the show. It's a pretty, it's a bit of a commitment to watch it every week. Some of them don't even know it exists. So you really need to have that moment on the big stage to prepare yourself. On the flip side, you have Kalani. He comes in, has a great performance, coincidentally also against Cody Vallo, then goes up against the Crazy Hawaiian for the inaugural Super Heavyweight Championship. At the time, he falls short, doesn't come back until Power Slap 10, which is a little over a year later, actually, at that time. Has another impressive performance, and now he's returning, going to fight Danny. So number 2 versus number 3, Dumpling, number 1 versus the champions taking place. So a lot of important stuff happening in that division. Both guys need this moment.
Absolutely. Let's make the transition to our next guest, to Pono Pau, who's going to be joining us. Perfect time to get him on, because this is a guy that came in to Road to the Title season 3 took very much a, fatherly figure and took on almost like a coaching role as an athlete, as part of the show went on. And we've heard from a number of athletes ever since a Power Slap 9, Power Slap 10. And I'm already telling you some of the interviews that I've already done, rumblings of Power Slap number 11, of the influence that Pono Pau has had on them and developing their striking technique. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ding, but from the guys that have said it, it's been a pretty impressive resume and record of what this guy has been able to do. So we'll get talking to him. We'll see what it is that makes a difference. And I mean, Brittany, if you want to start out with Pono, let's get into it, because I know he's a big guy in mindset about believing, overcoming adversity. So I'll let you start off with Mr. Pono Pau as the introduction.
What's going on?
Welcome. We're so happy to have you on here. Are you in your car?
Yeah. So we're just coming back from Orange County. We did a photo shoot with Wolfpack today. So we're just wrapping everything up and heading back down towards San Diego.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I got the pleasure of meeting you before, and something that really stuck out to me and your Instagram, I know you talk a lot about mindset and faith, but you said right before you went on, you were like, I was put on earth to do this. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, I know you come from, fighting background. To me, you're like a gentle giant. I look at you, you're intimidating. And then I talk to you and I'm like, I can't believe he just did that. So talk to me a little bit about how you prepare, kind of what your mindset looks like.
Ironclad. I try to keep it dialed in all the time. Make sure that I stay focused on whatever I'm putting in front of me, making sure that I keep that mindset solid and strong to follow through with whatever I'm putting forth. And proof is in the pudding with the performance with Power Slap 10 and going out there. Everything that I did up to that moment, from the walkout to the gauging my measure on Cooper and really just putting on that showmanship and that performance, it was a big part. And all that was, rehearsed in my backyard, literally hours and hours and hours. My wife yelling at me, telling me, hey, what are you doing outside at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning? And I'm just dialing in. I'm making sure that I stay focused. I make sure that I keep my mind on the prize and not to get ahead of myself, not to go overboard, but really live in the moment, not thinking about the future and what it possesses, but more of just the here and now, and making sure that I go through a checklist. When I walk up on that stage, when I battle anybody, I make sure I go through a checklist. I keep it with me right here in my mind, and just making sure that when I'm out there, I make sure I stay calm, try to stay collected, even with the things that are happening around me, try to focus as much as I can on what I'm coming there for and what message I'm trying to spread. And that's, the message of positivity. I want to be able to go out there and showcase such a skill set that people look at me and go, whoa, wow, you know what? That was, something amazing, but professional in a way. And, I lose my moments here and there, going out there because of the excitement of being on the stage and, competing against somebody such as Cooper Housley, and him having a background of, he just came off of a knockout of Stevie Ray and then also a match with Logan. I really try to keep in mind that he's not somebody that we take lightly, and no fighter is. When you go out there, you're going to be faced with challenges just like that. And making sure that I go through that same checklist with myself every single time, doesn't matter who it is, and really just try to promote the best version of myself, going out there and showing that I go and I put the hard work in, I put the dedication in, the time, the effort. I make sure I stay up those late hours trying to dial in, and then, just going out there and putting on a good performance for everybody. I want it to be where the future of Power Slap looks very professional, very showman, like you're going out there and you're putting on a show. And that's exactly what I see for Power Slap for the future.
That's what the sport needs for sure. So, all right, top 6 right now currently in heavyweight. How do you handle, do you like the pressure? Do you want more pressure? Do you stalk your opponents? I know you have a coaching role too. So how do you handle that?
I'm used to being in those pressure moments. Just from the career choices and working in the gym, working in sales for a long period of time. You have a deadline. You have to go and make sure that you're out there pushing for the numbers for the facility, for the gym itself. So I'm used to the pressure when it comes to stuff like that. But to be really honest, it's a different experience. I've never had that moment where going on a stage, performing in front of people, as big and aggressive as I am sometimes, I'm not that person in real life. I'm very shy and I hold back a lot, and it took a lot of practice. It took a lot of guidance. It took a lot of me figuring out who I truly was or I truly am to really start to open up those doors to, being able to speak on a lot of things, and provide an influence, and being inspiring to other people. I had to build all of that up before. If you knew me when I was 23, 24, 25, even though that I was a friendly person, you would be like, oh yeah, this guy really doesn't talk that much. He kind of holds back on his words. He doesn't say that much, and he kind of keeps to himself. And now being able to use that skill and use that ability to kind of reach out to people and inspire others, try to go out there and really teach people that, or not teach, but more of just show them that you don't have to be a certain way. You don't have to act a certain way. You can kind of go out there and just be who you really are. You're who your true self is. There's no persona that you have to put on. And I think that authenticity is huge. It's huge. You have to be yourself when you go out there. You do your performance. You go out there and you do anything in this sport and in life in general. If you're authentic, it's going to come off as authentic, and once you start going out there and reaching too far, grabbing for something that's not really there, that's when you start to lose yourself and not become that person that that's what people are looking for. This sport right now is in that growth where people are looking for the not the answer so much, but more of a person that's the guide, the beacon of light, somebody that's really trying to show what can you really do. As long as you put your mind to it, as long as you focus, as long as you try to dial in the mindset a little bit better, what can you really do out there with your skill set, with your technique, with your style, with everything else. And it's a huge part for this, because it's all about who you are. At the end of the day, we're the product. We're going out there. We're the people delivering the slap. We're the people that's taking the slap. So try to perfect it as much and as best as possible. And then while you're doing that, like how I always say, is that I'm gaining so much by going out there, reaching out to people, influencing others to do exactly the same thing that I've been practicing and I've been doing. And then in return, it shapes me. It changes the way I am, the way I act, the way I move around. And what I really believe in myself is that, like we said earlier, is that I have a purpose here. And the purpose is to really bring to life that you can be whoever you want to be, and we all have a piece of God in us that we can just unlock, but you just got to use those little keys to unlock that person in you, and just trying to open up that door for everybody so that way they understand that, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. There's somebody always out there that's listen to the story, listen to the problems, and willing to help. I'm always willing to help anybody with their style, with their technique, whether they're having trouble in life. It's just the way it is. I've spent a lot of my years being very selfish, and I think in that sense, as I progress and as I grow and mature, I've learned that it's better to be the other half, not the guy that always thinks about himself, but the ones that thinks about others. And then at that point, you know, I just teach myself a very valuable lesson that I can help others, and in return, I can also help myself by learning new things.
I agree. I love it. And do you mind me asking how old are you? Because you kept referencing, you're not the same person you used to be. You definitely
I,
seem evolved.
I'm 36.
Okay. And now, do you think with Power Slap there should be any sort of like, do you see yourself ever feeling like old in the sport, or do you feel like you're just getting started?
I feel like I'm just getting started. And just because
Cool.
with the message that still needs to be delivered and the people that still need to kind of align in the sport, I feel like this is just the very beginning of everything. And within this next year or so, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The sport is already growing. We're already 10 in, going on to Power Slap 11, heading out to Saudi Arabia, coming back to Power Slap 12 in Vegas, and the growth of this sport is just continuing to flourish. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I feel within the next year, 2 years, there should be some open doors and some light shed on some things that's going to be great. Great for the sport, great for myself, and great for everybody else around.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I don't want to hog you, so I'll pass it on.
No, no worries.
Oh, good. No, I appreciate that, Brittany. Thank you. Pono, as I alluded to, I've been talking to a lot of guys getting ready for Power Slap number 11, and your name keeps coming back up.
Mhm.
What is that secret sauce that you're developing that is allowing guys to have success in Power Slap? Because I've heard right from the beginning that you very much took that mentor, that coach position very early on in the house, and you haven't let up since.
Honestly, Corey, it's love. A lot of people go out there and they're not having that attention. They're not being able to, going out there and competing is one different thing, but they're trying to perform at a high level and not understanding the key mechanics that it takes, the biomechanics that it takes to go, everything that you put into the actual slap, the rotation, and just the breakdown of what a slap technique or what a bracing defense technique looks like. And with the season, you've got a lot of people that come on there and they have experience in MMA, they have experience in bodybuilding or lifting weights, and just the general. And it hasn't been a short time or a long time before they've had a match. So it's like, okay, well, we're getting back into something where it's a sport that's on the uprise, and we want to try to learn how to do a slap, try to learn how to go out there and take this battle, and it's it's big for me, especially with what you just said earlier, coming into this. And, a lot of people are reaching out and, really giving thanks back for just the knowledge and the information that I'm able to drop and to share with everyone. And that's part of that. What my answer is love, is like, I'm just trying to give love back to the fighters. So that way they understand that somebody's there for them, watching and helping if they ever need it. And all they have to do is just open up their arms and open up their mind and ask. That
Of
you
course.
never get anywhere if you don't ask. And it's like, and even though I'm still green in this sport, we just started this year, we did the season, and now Power Slap 10, I'm still green in this, but I have enough knowledge and enough skill set to be able to just pass that on to other people and try to influence them to, if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You can add it to your style, you don't have to, but eventually, if you want to develop a better slap, if you want to develop a better brace, these are some of the key things that you have to focus on. General fitness, going to the gym, making sure that you check in every single time. It's not that one time a week type of thing. We got to go in there 2, 3, 4 times. We got to train on specific things. You don't have to overdo stuff, but you have to dial in the specific movements that you need to deliver the slap and how to deliver the power. So when you go out there, at least you have that part where you look the part. You move the way that it's supposed to work. You can deliver the power. And that is so key in this sport, is that the slap might look good, your extension, everything else, your stance look amazing, but the rotation is not right. So now you're not being able to deliver the power that you should be doing. The follow through isn't there. So all these little key things need to be looked at under a microscope. You need to see those things and be like, well, that's something that I need to change. I do a lot of video. I look back, and not just videos of fights that, power slap fighters or anything else, but I videotape myself all the time. I go back and I watch my form, I watch my technique, I watch my stance, and I video myself when I brace. And not a lot of people will do that stuff, but I do. I do that so that way I can look and make the correction that is needed to be able to perform the way I need to. And that is a big thing for me, coming from, the season, and really taking on that coaching role and that mentor role, because in the originally, be honest with you, Corey, I was coming on there for the chase of the title And that's all it was. And I was going out there to make a name for myself and just really get that belt around my waist. But once I was able to sit with all the people from season 3, all the fighters, 40 different personalities, talk to them about their stories, understand where they've come from, the story that they're trying to put out in the world, that really changed the way that I look at things. It changed the whole, am I chasing this title? I see, like we just said about the bigger purpose. I see the bigger purpose being that I go out there and I change lives. And that's huge. I go out there and I make a difference by changing everybody's lives. And then by showing them that with a little bit of fine tuning, you can get your performance up to where it has to be a full 360. If you can slap good, that's great. If you can defend good, that's awesome. But there's also the other parts. There's marketing, there's branding. There's so many other key factors that you need to be the full 360 in this sport. And I'm just happy that I got in it early enough to where I was able to influence a lot of people and and get good feedback from a lot of people and really just be like Ding said, the beacon of light for a lot of the people out there, and just really just stand there and just, hey, I'm right here. You guys need help, follow this way. We can take care of this stuff, small little changes and it'll be okay.
Absolutely, my man. Always a pleasure to have you on. Travel safe. I know you're out there in Cali. I know you said you're traveling south. So, thoughts and prayers with everybody out there who's, lost their property and, lives and everything else that's going on, how awful it is. So, be safe and hopefully we'll see you back up there on the stage real soon, my man.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care, dude.
All right.
There we go. Pono Pau, always informational, always great, down to earth. One of the nicest guys you'll see. I don't think a single person, I mean, even just see the comments coming in and we put them up on the screen. Just, many incredible, stories that people are sharing. I don't think anybody, I mean, Ding, have you heard anybody say anything bad about this guy?
No, he's like a saint. And what's interesting about it is this is the tough guy business. And inevitably part of that is kind of, a lot of egos, a lot of testosterone, a lot of people who want to be the baddest and the biggest. And for a guy to figure out how to penetrate every one of their outer shells, even though they're all very different, they come from different places, they're varying levels of maturity, different lifestyles, for him to be able to kind of meet them where they all are and get this respect is really incredible. And I actually think in the future we'll have him on again to talk about how you can sort of mimic that in some ways, but instead of with your peers, do it towards the fan base and connect with those people in a similar way. Because a lot of people who watch combat sports are not, they're not sitting at the top of a throne somewhere, with their servants beneath them. They're everyday people, middle class, working hard, dealing with hardship, just trying to make it. And so to be able to hear that message or have that, the buzzword seems to be beacon of light is really important. And I think that there's a layer to this we can all unlock together.
Yeah. What kept coming to mind when he was speaking was I felt like he's starting a legacy with what he's doing. And like you said, Ding, a lot of people in the sport, and I've picked up on it from, it gives it a fun energy when I've been interviewing people. They're cocky, full of testosterone, ready to go. But he really, the Hawaiian assassin, like he really, really brings it in. And I think that's extremely important. I hope people were taking notes when he said, it's not just about what you do and how you perform. He was dissecting his performance. And that's something that's really shocked me, and that I know as the sport evolves, people are going to have to step up. They're really going to have to, like he said, make sure that they're honing in on videoing everything, looking at how they're turning, how they're hitting, etc. Because a lot of people, in my opinion, are just kind of winging it and they got lucky. But like every sport, as it evolves, competition is going to continue to get harder and harder, and we're going to have to evolve. So he had a lot of good points. I absolutely loved listening to him. I think we can all learn from him. So that was quite the interview, I thought.
Yeah, it always is, and one of the things he touched on briefly, and again, this is something we'll explore more in the future, is marketing, trademarking, branding, He does the silent thing, and then he also has the where he puts his hand up to the sky, the way that he kind of lines up his strike, the way that he kind of like slowly dishes it out. All of those things are important because he does them consistently, and so
his signature moves,
right. And so I think all of that is something that people can learn from, because it builds that expectation, and it builds that connection with the fan base where they feel like they can get involved. The anticipation, oh, I know Pono's going to do this, and that's kind of the moment, right? The anticipation builds, and he plays on it. And even somebody like Babyface Blackburn with the right on one pointing to the hand, right? Those things are all significant, and I think we'll start to see more of that. But these are guys. He like he said, he's green, very green. He's just on season 3. He's only competed 3 times. And for him to know as much as he does and be able to lend things to people who started in season 1, nearly 2 years ago. At this point, for people who are on the qualifiers over 2 years ago, is really, it's incredible.
Yeah, I definitely echo that sentiment. Obviously, as Brittany alluded to, I believe he's sitting there around number 6th in the heavyweight division. There's a ton of new talent coming in off road to the title season 3. You had Bryce Jones, you had Wes Minna, and you also had James Seekman. So we've got a ton of great talent coming in this division. This division has gotten incredibly exciting, through and through. That it's really become now what the middleweight division was, with all the interesting matchups. And, I think so in some ways light heavyweight still in that realm, but now this heavyweight is really coming in to its own. A lot of fresh talent in there, a lot of intriguing matchups. I'm excited to see how this goes. If any matches get released for Power Slap 11, and potentially Power Slap 12 in the future, because there's definitely some guys there that may be able to give the Bell a run for his money. We know the Bell has been on an absolute tear since acquiring the championship belt and keeps racking them up. How many belts, Brittany, do you remember that Damien DeBell had in the high limits room at Fontainebleau? I want to say it was 3. Is it how many?
Yeah, the big one, and then he had the 2 on the shoulder. Then he was posing with another one too. So 3 or 4. He's awesome. I love the fact that in his day job, now that I know him, I'm like, he's a lawyer. He's going to be a lawyer. Like, he's studying for this while doing, his hobby. I love it.
I mean, he's one of the most laid back guys. Like, I don't know, just his demeanor when you see him, like his heart rate never rises. Like, I'm not quite sure how he's going to be as a lawyer. I can just be like, oh yeah, that's your story. I'm sure it is. Easiest way out, done. I think he'll have more negotiations before going to trial than anybody else. I think he'll walk in there and be like, what do you want? Here's what I want. Right down the middle. Let's go.
I think go ahead. Sorry, Brittany, you're good.
No, I wanted to ask, I had kind of an opinion question that I think I was walking yesterday thinking about the evolution of the sport. Do you ever, because right now we'll see a lot of guys, that can go down a weight class. Let's say, for example, like the mechanic, he wants to, let's say, he wins again, light heavyweight. Do you ever think they'll put any rules in place where you have to stay in that weight class for X number of time? Or how do you see that? Because I know some sports, it's like once you're there, you can't. Other sports, you can kind of be free to roam. So just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, very similar to MMA. Guys can go up, they can go down. I think a lot where it makes the intriguing matchups. Vern Cathy did talk about dropping down the middleweight, before his last match. So it's something that's definitely not out of the realm. I mean, it's a great example. For the most part, a lot of these guys came in, and I mean, I'm not trying to bash the sport, but they should be dropping down weight classes. They came out of shape where they weren't in as good a shape as they could be. And we're seeing, as time go on, we're seeing more and more. We're seeing John Davis, who we just spoke to, originally started heavyweight, went all the way, went down to middleweight, obviously where he competed. Even on that interview, he talked about Isaih dropping down to 170. He talked about Emmanuel Muniz dropping from 185 down to 170. And so we're seeing more and more of it. I mean, we even have the Crazy Wine saying he's going to come down from 420 to make 265. So we're seeing guys that want to keep, kind of dropping down. And I think people are realizing too that, in a lot of ways, the sport, is not for long in a lot of careers. And so they got to make the most of what they have. And, the health and longevity and all that is incredibly important as well to, life after the sport. And so we're seeing a lot of these guys take their career more seriously here, but they're also taking their health in general a lot more seriously. And, it's great to see. If anything, above this is seeing guys come in finding that competitive realm. I mean, even for myself, like after, like I played competitive hockey, you know, at a high level. And once that stopped, you know, you kind of get lost in life. And until I found fitness and was able to compete, you know, in bodybuilding shows, like I was kind of lost for that competitive edge, and seeing these guys come in and get that competitive edge and find their path and ability to be able to, you know, compete at a high level and a meaningful level. I think it's really enlightening their life, you know, full heartedly, both inside and outside of the sport.
I agree. And, you know, there's not a lot of sports that you can come into later in life. Like, you know, this, unfortunately, it would be a success story, but if you're in the NFL, you know, you've kind of been bred since you were 6 years old. But some of the people I was talking to at Power Slap 10 were like, yeah, you know, when I got the call, like I thought it'd be something I'd be good at. So it's really cool to see people kind of get that competitive athlete mindset later in life. Which is why, though, like Ding was saying, I think that's why in this sport, especially, we see kind of a lot of that like cockiness and maybe a little, I don't want to say arrogant, but maybe a little bit overly confident. So it's pretty unique to see, because in a lot of sports, you know, people have been doing it for so long. So I love getting to know all the athletes, seeing where their head's at.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing though, because I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, why should anybody else? So
No, very true.
I kind of like it. Ding. I know we alluded to it earlier. We talked about the super heavies. We're at the Crazy Hawaiian in Las Vegas right now, going up against Dumpling. This match, as it kind of gets closer, are you feeling one of these athletes have an advantage over the other? Or is this truly going to be a pick'em when the Vegas lines open?
I think the Crazy will probably open as a favorite here. Maybe -125, something like that. I don't think it'll be massive, but I do think he was the more. I thought the Crazy Hawaiian won. I'll be honest. Even with the fouls, I still thought he won the last fight, and I think. I just think, I mean, you know, no disrespect to the Dumpling, of course. I think his mobility is much different than it was when he was like really killing people. And you see
like
it
hindered, hindered. You mean?
Yeah, like I don't think he rotates as good as he did. And I feel like it almost hurts him. I don't know. It's weird. If you watch the way he rotates, it's not fluid. It's very mechanical. It feels like he just doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if it's the additional weight. I don't know if it's a problem with his torso somewhere or his hips. But something about it almost feels like there's like a point where he really's got to force the rest of the rotation. Yeah. And I just thought Hawaiian had the better strikes.
It's interesting to say that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying, I was actually just watching it before the show, and you know, he's not able to translate the up and down movement with the lateral rotational movement, as you alluded to. It's more bend the knees down, up, and then twist afterwards. And so it, like you said, more of that mechanical hinge instead of the fluidity. But Brittany, can you add anything to that?
No, I was watching it too because it's on the promo video, and it's easy to see because they slow it down, and it looks like, in my opinion, the windup is great. But then again, Dang, I don't know exactly where it is, if it's like a rotator cuff thing or something, but it looks like he almost has to stop. Like he loses the momentum a little bit and then has to like go up to reach the face. So yeah, I was interested if that could have been because of his mechanics changing. And hope, you know, he has time to reel it in though. You know, there's lots you can do with technique, but that'll be interesting. I'm rooting. I mean, the Crazy Hawaiian, because I met him, talked to him. I feel like he is just gonna win probably, but again, who knows? Who knows what can happen? Hopefully, Dumpling gets that technique reeled in. Plenty of time, plenty of opportunities.
So. You know what? The truth is, if you look at his older matches from other promotions, you know, he was a little lighter. And again, I'm not saying anything bad. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about the guy, but just in general, I think that ultimately there's something to be said for, you know, additional weight. And he said it, like he was out of this for a few years. Power Slap found him in Siberia on a farm. And, you know, I'm assuming they gave him an offer that he didn't refuse. and ultimately he comes back. But I think he's just a little different than he was. Obviously, still has incredible power because he has a ridiculous first round knockout. The first time he touches Camille, he puts him picture perfect kind of knockout. But I just thought against the Hawaiian, and listen, for as great of a chin as the Hawaiian has, he's been knocked out before, like out cold. So he's not. It's not like it doesn't exist somewhere. It's just nobody's found it. And he's just makes so many improvements over the years. He takes this so seriously. If anybody was going to be able to do it, you would think it would be the Dumpling. But after seeing that first match, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, just the structure, as we kind of talked on last week's show with Brittany, and just talking about the makeup and how wide their necks are. And, they almost don't have necks in some ways with, it just becomes their head as an extension of their body. And really in no point in that match was the crazy Hawaiian in any danger. Really the only time we've seen him power slap is actually really right back to the Unca Micah fight, which I believe was the first time we've seen a crazy Hawaiian in power slap. There was one strike that Unca Micah hit the crazy Hawaiian and found that off switch for a very split second. He was able to catch himself before falling out, but otherwise we haven't seen anybody that's been able to put a chink in that armor. And kind of, as you're alluding to with the mechanics, the way that, Dumpling seems to be doing right now, it doesn't seem like, he's going to be able to put him away. And we'll see on the offense. I do think the crazy Hawaiian has the potential within this rule set to be able to, have that upper hand and cause more damage with his strikes. So, I think you're right. 125 isn't a huge favorite. I mean, -110, I think I could see, but I think it'll be pretty close once we get the lines, approximately, 7 to 10 days before the actual event itself. So, was I missing any other fight announcements, Ding? Or are those the ones that were made public?
No, you got them. Those are the ones that were made public.
Awesome. Well, let's have a little fun while we're still here. We still got time. I got some Looney Tunes trading cards. And so, Brittany, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to ask Ding, who is the Tweety Bird of Power Slap?
Can we have a do I get any clues or no?
Yeah, it's your personal opinion. Or I can let Ding take it. This one might be hard. Who's the Tweety Bird, Ding?
Vince Tracy.
Vince Tracy?
Yeah. Very, very nice guy. Really energetic. Fits Tweety Bird pretty well.
All right. This one might green screen me, but we'll see. Henry Hawk.
He looks scared, so I'm trying to think of someone that might look a little bit scared all the time. Maybe.
You don't get to get out of this. Why don't you pick this one?
This one?
Yeah, you think you're slick. You think you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Henry Hawk?
Yeah, I don't know. That one's got me.
I know. TJ Thomas.
I don't know if he liked that. I don't know if he liked that, but all right.
What's wrong? Hey,
I like quick
TJ. He reminds me of TJ.
That's good.
Yeah, how about this one? Sam Sheepdog. Oh, I'm getting green screened.
They get majorly green screened. Oh, there you go. Tilt it forward.
Tilt it, yeah, forward.
I can't get a
or backwards, I guess. Like
forward, yeah, right there we can see it. But what is it? I don't understand.
It's a sheepdog. Sam Sheepdog. There we go. Oh, maybe not.
No, you do look good.
There we go. I got it now.
Oh, so they have the mask over their face? Is that
I was just saying, where's the face?
No, it's his hair or his ears coming down. We don't know who Sam Sheepdog is? Nah? All right. I'll go on the next one. All right. Fan favorite, Granny.
Oh, that's messed up. Steen Wolmerans.
Okay. Take a crack, Brittany, or are you good?
Yeah, I feel like I'm still scared to I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that one.
It's all in good fun. All right. And one last one. Ding's going to hate me for this one, too. Porky the Pig.
Damn, that's kind of mean, man, to call somebody Porky the Pig. I'd be upset.
I would be, yeah. I don't know. Is there anyone, like, I don't know
Cody
people
Vallo.
like you guys would get.
Cody Vallo.
That's a good one. There we go. Take the easy out. either Cody Vallo or it's Paul Teague. Those are your two you can pick on, Ding. Oh, did we lose Ding?
No, I'm
still
here.
there. Are you here? Okay, cool. But yeah, wrapping up the show.
Well, you missed something important, man.
What did we miss? What did we miss?
Ready?
Okay, now let me ask you one more then. How's this? How about the GOAT, Tom Brady? Who's the Tom Brady?
Tom Brady is Tom Brady. You can't
yeah, but who's the Tom Brady of power?
I don't think it's the Tom Brady yet, man. That's like
all right.
I mean, honestly, I would say from a female's perspective, I would say it's Sheena, because when you talk about, like, for example, when I was at Christmas dinner talking about the fights and everything, everyone knows her because they talk about, oh, the girl that got slapped and then smiled after. So I would say she's the GOAT of the sport. Again, it could be a little biased because I'm female, but
hey, some people got other videos of Sheena getting slapped. This AI stuff. Her and Christine seem to be getting real close after their slap.
Well,
it's
we'll
getting pretty wild, man.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah, AI is getting pretty wild around Power Slap. I'll say that.
Yeah, if you're sharing videos of strikers getting slapped and then making out, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I don't know about
Don't
you.
make it weird, guys.
Yeah, anybody who's doing that, I don't know about you. But look, Corey, you missed something big, man. I can't believe you missed it.
What happened?
But I'm gonna put it up so you don't miss it. Oh. I just dropped the bomb. Corey, that's his watch party, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Slap News will be doing our first ever watch party during the event in Saudi Arabia. So we'll be giving you guys our real-time reactions, we'll give you our breakdown, our analysis, everything that we know about the guys. We'll be working the phones. We'll be getting all the back and information for you. So if you want to watch along with us as the event takes place, we would appreciate that. All of you guys, just as we go live here, have a good time. Come together for 2 hours or so roughly. And as you know, there's always a ton of excitement and action coming. Power Slap number 11, January 30th. And we'll make sure to get you guys up to date on what time it is in each time zone. So regardless of where you are, you know what time it's taking place. So you getting a day off work, Ding? I mean, it's early for you, midday.
We'll see.
You know, you'll figure it out.
Might do it. Who knows? Maybe I'll be sitting in my golden palace on my golden throne, and maybe I'll do it from there.
All right.
But
Awesome.
you can pick. You can have Michael Bisping and Dan Hellie, right? Which is Michael doesn't watch this program, so boring.
Or you watch James Lynch, apparently.
You can pick us. No, he didn't watch James Lynch. Somebody sent him something for James Lynch. That's what happened. But no disrespect to Michael Bisping and Dan Hellie, but if I had to pick a broadcast partner, I would pick us. I'm just saying. No bias or anything.
Awesome. All good. Well, let's wrap it up. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Brittany, Ding, until next time, stay well, stay safe. We'll be 1 week closer, and I'm sure we'll have a ton of exciting news in the week to follow. Stay tuned and up to date on Instagram and on YouTube. We've got a ton of pre-fight interviews coming out for the fights that have been announced. Take care, and we'll catch you up same place, same time next week.